Imagine reading a historical account of a violent execution, right? But you are absolutely convinced that the person on the cross was taking the punishment meant specifically for you. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, it is a pretty heavy concept to wrap your head around.
It really is. So, our mission today is exploring a deeply personal Christian reflection on the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We are looking at a devotional text titled Talking About Jesus. Okay, let's unpack this because the central premise here operates on a radically personal level.
Right. It is not just abstract theology.
Exactly. The author writes with complete conviction that their own rebellion earned them a crushed heart, but that Jesus, who they call the spotless lamb, basically stepped in to take the blow.
And for you listening, whether you are immersed in this theology or just, looking at it from the outside, what makes this text so compelling is how it dissects the psychology of that substitution.
Yeah, it feels very immediate.
It does. It is not treated as some distant history. I mean, it is an intense, real-time, emotional transaction.
Which I get, like I understand the historical concept of a martyr dying for a cause, right?
Sure.
But how does an author living centuries later logically connect their own everyday mistakes to a violent death in the ancient world? I mean, it feels like a massive leap to claim that a historical figure absorbed a punishment meant for an individual reading a book today. How does the text bridge that gap?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the author bridges that gap by moving past the physical torture. They focus almost entirely on the spiritual mechanics of it all.
Okay, how so?
They zero in on one agonizing moment. If the
Uh,
part where Jesus cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
right, the moment of total abandonment.
Exactly. The text argues that in this moment, Jesus is absorbing what the author calls the silence of heaven.
The silence of heaven, wow.
Yeah, it is the total, crushing severing of connection with the divine. So the author believes that specific spiritual darkness, that ultimate isolation, is the exact consequence their own actions generated in the universe.
So instead of that cliche courtroom metaphor where, like, a friend takes your jail sentence, it functions a bit more like a lightning rod, maybe.
Oh, that is a fantastic way to put it.
Right, like the author sees their own rebellion as something that attracts a lethal voltage of divine justice, and Jesus acts as the grounded rod.
Yes, he absorbs the entire shock of that celestial silence so the author doesn't get struck.
That is wild.
That lightning rod concept captures the mechanics perfectly. He takes the spiritual isolation so the author never, ever has to experience it.
And because he absorbs that strike, the author doesn't just survive, the entire script completely flips.
Right, it is a total inversion.
Yeah, because there are these striking mirror image questions in the text. Jesus asks why he is forsaken, and because that question is asked in the dark, it directly enables the author to ask the exact opposite.
Why have you received me as your beloved bride?
Yes, the rejection of one guarantees the embrace of the other. It is really powerful.
And that inversion really is the engine of the entire text. The isolation of the cross becomes the exact mechanism for connection. But to explain how that actually happens in practice, the author breaks it down into two very distinct operational phases.
Mercy and grace.
Exactly, mercy and grace.
We use those words interchangeably in everyday conversation all the time, though, so how does this source separate them?
Well, think of it as a two-step financial transaction. First, mercy is the debt cancellation.
Okay, so like clearing the ledger.
Right. It is God looking directly at the author's ledger of failures, weaknesses, secrets, and basically choosing to hit delete. The deserved judgment is withheld. You are back to zero.
So your massive debt is cleared, but your bank account is still totally empty.
Exactly. Which brings us to grace. Grace is the immediate, unearned deposit of unimaginable wealth into that empty account.
Ah, so grace is the upgrade.
A massive upgrade. The text uses vivid imagery for this, exchanging rags for righteousness,
Yeah.
taking the thorns and giving glory in return. You aren't just a pardoned criminal walking out of a courthouse.
Right. You are suddenly handed the keys to the kingdom and a seat at the family table as a child.
It is a complete change in status. And through this transaction, the cross transforms from an ancient torture device into what the author calls a crown of mercy resting on their own head.
A crown they explicitly acknowledge they did nothing to earn through their own goodness. Right?
Oh, absolutely nothing. It is entirely unearned.
Which leaves us with a fascinating psychological question for you to ponder as you go about your day.
Definitely.
If someone truly internalizes this message, like, if you deeply believe your heaviest, most profound guilt was completely erased and replaced with an unearned crown of mercy, How might carrying that specific crown fundamentally alter the way you judge the people around you?
Yeah, if your own worst failures were met with total grace, does it change how you react to the guilt of others?
A very powerful question to sit with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.